All right, so my name is Jerry Hayes. For those of you who don't know me, I am a personal trainer and strength and conditioning coach. I've been in the industry since 2018 as a coach, and I don't plan on stopping anytime soon. I started this channel a long time ago and then really didn't post to it. I was focused more on Instagram, and then I realized why not just start posting things here too. And I'm going to focus more on long form content while you'll see the shorts and stuff that I still post. I wanted to create a new series. This series, I don't even really have a name for it. I'll probably come up with it when I'm editing this video, but essentially what I want to do is I want to talk about the mental health and fitness relationship, how one can affect the other, and they're just very causal. I think it's very needed, especially today when you look around on the internet and especially Instagram and TikTok, and you see all these people thriving, but you only see them thriving. And this idea has been talked about a million times by a bunch of different people, right? So, oh, you're only seeing the highlights, you're only seeing the good stuff, and it's true. But after that, we kind of just brush it off. We're like, yep, that's just the highlights, ignore it. But we still look at it as if it's not just the highlights. At least I know I do. So what I want to do is I want to talk about a lot of the things that impacted my mental health and my fitness goals and how they're all kind of tied together. And then eventually I want to turn it into something else where we can talk about your struggles that you're working through and how fitness and mental health and everything impacts your life. So I have an email listed in the description so you can anonymously ask me a question through there, or you could leave a comment down below if you want to be a little more open with it, because chances are, just like in school, they say raise your hand, ask a question, don't be afraid. Chances are other people have that same question. They're just afraid to ask. If you're like struggling with something and you're working through something and you need advice on it, or you just want to talk about it and we could talk about it in a video, leave a comment down below, because chances are you're not the only one dealing with that. And the reason that I want to do it that way too, and it's almost preferred, but obviously if you want to remain anonymous, you can. But the reason it's almost preferred to write it in the comments is because I want this to be more of a community feel. I want you guys to not feel like you're going through the struggle alone. I want you to feel like you can rely on each other. Eventually, I'm going to create a common space for you guys where you could share PRs and all this stuff. I'll probably make a Discord channel just because I'm a gamer at heart. We're going to jump into today's video and I'm going to share my journey with you and why I started in fitness. It's going to be more of an introduction video, but also you're going to understand where I'm coming from and why I started this series that should be named in hopefully soon. Not you, Siri. I said series. What better way to talk about mental health than having a Harley Quinn and Joker cup that my beautiful Aunt Anna bought for me. So thank you. I love you. All right. So my fitness journey was very much impacted by my childhood. I was always the tall, skinny kid, but it started off as a kid. I was like the chunky Italian kid, just eating pasta and bread all the time. And that's the part of me that I don't really talk about too much because it didn't last for long, especially because my dad's Irish genes took over and I became lanky out of nowhere. So that was one of those things where growing up, food was, if you listen to the BG Perform podcast with me and my cousin Brandon, we talk about it. Food was how people engage with each other. It's how people interact and show love. The Sicilian in us is food, manja, right? That was something that I remember feeling. I was in 6th grade and I saw this kid and he was wearing an Under Armour shirt. And I was like, that looks cool. I want one. And the tight Under Armour that you'd wear under like a football uniform or something like that. Ignore that pop up. The one thing that sucked is when I put it on, I didn't like how it looked because I had this pot belly. I've always had this pot belly. Whether it's the Sicilian or Irish side, I do not know, but it's there. That was something that I was always self-conscious of. It was tough. I always struggled with like my image from a very young age, and I remember getting inspired by Rocky. So I used to watch the Rocky movies. Rocky 4 was my favorite. He fucked up Ivan Drago, and I was so happy about it. You don't kill my boy Apollo and get away with it. So Rocky came in and did his thing, but I remember doing push-ups and sit-ups. Like I would just nonstop all day, like as many sit-ups and push-ups as I can. And I remember I started to really like fitness and I started to fall in love with it a little bit. Fast forward to middle school, puberty hit really hard, and obviously like I started to get stronger and like actually see some definition like in my shoulders specifically. That's the Irish. And then I started to feel like athletic for the first time in my life. And I was like, this is what I've been working for. That growth spurt, I was really happy and I started to feel stronger and I loved it. But then as soon as I leaned out and got really thin, and I started to take on this long, lanky Jack Skellington look, my family started saying, oh, you're so skinny, you need to eat more, you need to eat more. So my entire life, like up until that point was, oh, I'm feeling a little chubby, maybe I should work out and do this. Now it's, oh, you need to eat more, you need to eat more, you need to eat more. All my cousins would always say that. And it was something that I really struggled with. And I was like, what the fuck, man? Like, I finally got to a place where I'm happy and people are telling me that I need to change. That was something that really, really messed with me. And I started trying to put on a little more weight. Like freshman year of high school, I started lifting weights, and I struggled with that too because I wasn't actually seeing a ton of progress. And now looking back, I understand how it works, and I understand why I wasn't seeing all the progress in the world with progressive overload and making sure that the consistency is there. I was going through with bodybuilding.com trying to figure out what to do. It wasn't until the summer of sophomore going into junior year of high school that I understood what a program was, and I started to do bodybuilding.com programs. And I had these old, like 80s muscle magazines with all these old school guys who were clearly roided up. But for me, I didn't understand. I was naive. I thought this is what I could be if I just be consistent. Then I went toward boxing 5 days a week. I got really good. I loved it. I felt quick. I felt like I could actually throw a punch. My confidence was through the roof. But I was 5'11", 145 junior year. So 145, I was a lean 145 because I was boxing, doing push-ups and sit-ups and all these other things. And although I was like in really good shape, I was still strong. I was still getting those comments. You need to eat more. You're too skinny. You need to eat more. You're so skinny. All this shit, right? In my head, I started to think, okay, this is not a normal body. I need to put on weight. When obviously 145 at 5'11 is pretty thin, but when you're looking at a boxer, that's like Sean O'Malley fights at 135, right? And he's my height. So like you look at him and you're like, yeah, he's a fighter. In my head, I was thinking, I'm too small. I need to put on weight. I went into this mindset where I was like, okay, I'm not enough again, so I need to start eating more, lifting weights. So I dove right back into the bodybuilding.com stuff, and I started going nuts, and I started eating a ton. I was watching these guys who were on gear giving advice as if they were natty, and they were saying, you need to eat until your food's up to here, and then you need to eat even more. And it's like, okay, I guess I'll do that. So I was just shoving food down my face, and I was putting on weight. I was looking thicker, I was looking muscular, and I started to like see some actual development, and I really enjoyed how I looked. And I still wasn't as lean as I wanted to be, but I was getting to where I needed to be, and I knew that was part of it. Fast forward, I'm a sophomore in college, and 170 pounds, which is the heaviest I had ever been. It was like 170 at the end of the day, and I would just be like, still counts. So I hit a PR on bench press that was always a weak point for me. That was on a Monday. Fast forward to Friday, I had a sick arm day with my buddy Frankie. Shout out to Frankie. Love you, bro. I went home and I was like, okay, order of operations. We take a shower, we eat something as we watch Game of Thrones, and then we go right to bed because I had school in the morning. And I used to go to the gym at 8:30 p.m. because I would finish my work. I'd finish work, and then I would go and I would do my homework, and then I would go to the gym. I get home, it's like 10 p.m. In the shower, I went to wash my back, and this is the dumbest thing, and I always share this. I tore my rotator cuff because I had a sick bicep pump. It was unbelievable. I looked great. But then when I went to wash my back, it was soapy. So I went, and I heard it tear. I heard it went, and I was like, uh-oh, that's not good. I couldn't raise my arm like past here for like a week. And then I got to the point where like 90 degrees was doable, but anything past that would cause pain. So like I couldn't reach for a glass in the cabinet. I couldn't pour myself water because that internal rotation at the shoulder would just jack it up. I lost all motivation. And this is where the mental health thing comes in, because I started to not feel like myself. And then because of that, I didn't do the thing that I loved most because I didn't know. One, I didn't even think like, dude, just train legs, just train the things that don't hurt. Because at the time I was, again, naive. I'm still in school, I'm learning. And there wasn't a lot of information back then. Now you can go anywhere and find a ton of information like, oh, your shoulder hurts, this is probably what happened, do this, do that. And that's kind of what I want to provide as well for people. But back then, you just go on bodybuilding.com forum and you see like, hey, my shoulder hurts when I bench press. And people are like, oh, just, do some arm circles. And then it never goes away. I was going to physical therapy, but then I couldn't afford physical therapy for a little bit, so I took it off. I dropped from 170 to 139 in less than a year. So again, 139 at 5'11", you can imagine how skinny I was. If you follow me on Instagram, the same thing happened during the pandemic to me when all the gyms shut down. I had no money or equipment at home, and depression really set in. I couldn't find motivation to do the things I love the most. It's crazy because as soon as I get one workout in the gym, the rest of them are so easy to do. Like I look forward to it. I can't sleep at night because I'm excited to go to the gym in the morning. That shit still happens to me, even did last night. It prevented me from doing what I love the most. Eventually, I fixed my shoulder. I got back into the gym, and as soon as I did pushing movements, a full push day with no pain, I went home and I almost cried because I was so happy. It's moments like that like really set in like how important it is to me that I have my physical health and mental health in check. Again, fast forward to the pandemic, I hit that 170 again. I was leaner than before, and this was 170 in the morning after going to of the bathrooms. So I was even bigger than I was, and I was leaner than I was in college. Pandemic hits, less than a year. Again, no equipment, no motivation. I lost all progress in a very, very short amount of time. The impact it had on my life was beyond what I would even imagine as a 20-year-old who went through it the first time. I thought that was bad. The impact I had on my life at like 27 was the worst. And it affected my work. It affected my lifestyle. It affected my relationship. It affected who I was as a person, how I thought of myself, how I went about everything throughout the day. Eventually, when the gyms started opening back up again and they were not so strict about social distancing, I went back to the gym and I was excited. And I gained 5 pounds in like a couple weeks, and then I got COVID, and then I was like, fuck, that's great. And then I lost all the progress again, but obviously that was probably mainly water weight, a little more food I was eating. So I knew going into it this time that it wasn't going to be the biggest deal. I'll just gain it back. Fast forward to 2022, I start going to the gym regularly. We're talking 4 to 5 days a week. We're eating upwards of anywhere from 3,800 to 4,200 calories a day. We're tracking everything, macros, we're weighing everything, we're making sure that we're getting enough sleep. And I gained 35 pounds by the end of the year. So I gained it all back in a year. Obviously, that was slow. At first, it ramped up really quick because my body was like, oh, I remember this. Let's get that muscle back. And then I plateaued and I had to go and like make sure I was changing up my programming, making sure that I was doing what I needed to do to still see progress. And then it got a little slower toward the end of the year, but I ended up getting there. And then at this point, I was 175 and I was like 15% body fat. And I was used to being around 165, 170, around like 8 or 9%. So this was tough on me too, because like obviously I'm in the fitness industry. I want to have a certain image. I want to look a certain way. I want to be lean. I want to look the part. And I feel like my entire life I've been chasing looking the part. That's why I stopped boxing. That's why I started trying to lean out when I hit that weight instead of just like doing things and becoming stronger at that weight and then slowly leaning out. I tried to force myself into a cut, and then I ended up getting injuries and all this other stuff because I wasn't eating enough. I wasn't sleeping right because everything changed. I ended up under recovering and I was overreaching. So I was hitting some like minor symptoms of like, I'm not sleeping enough. My lifts are going down. I'm feeling very lethargic. I don't have energy anymore. So I started to realize I was training too hard and I wasn't recovering and I was doing it for too long. Now I've hit a point where I'm able to continue to move through, and I have a very healthy relationship with my training, and I'm currently trying to lean out. So right now I'm going through a loose cut. And the reason I'm doing it that way is because the last cut I did, I had abs by the end of it, but I felt like shit. And it wasn't really worth it in that sense. So I'm trying to do it slowly. And the way I'm doing it is, like I said, back when I was doing bodybuilding.com, I'd stuff food down my face. And my entire 20s was filled with me doing that, aside from the pandemic and when I tore my rotator cuff at 20. I am what I am as a trainer. And I know I got the smarts. Obviously, I've helped a bunch of different people, hundreds of people in my time as a trainer, whether virtually, in person, simple conversations. I'm still trying to convince myself that I am worth being in the industry, which is crazy, right? Because like, obviously I've done it. I've gained weight. I've helped other people gain and lose weight. The mental health aspect really comes together with the fitness in this ongoing battle. I know that I'm not alone because even trainers that I know also, like every trainer in the industry on some level has some sense of body dysmorphia. I will walk by a mirror and see a 139 pound Jerry. If a trainer tells you that they don't have body dysmorphia even a little bit, good for them. If they're telling the truth, but the case is probably that they actually do, and they struggle with it at least a little bit, because I know all of my trainer friends became trainers initially for themselves. They started to get to where they wanted to be, and they were like, I want to help other people going through the same thing. So yeah, that's like the initial journey that I've gone through in the fitness world, and it ties into where I am today because I still struggle with it. Like I started boxing again when I moved to California in July. It's been about almost 7 months now, and I love it. It's great. But when I box and lift consistently, sometimes I still feel like kind of small, and I'll look at myself, but like, in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't fucking matter. I want to be bigger. The other part of me wants to just be fit, be healthy, explosive, athletic. My biggest struggle right now is finding what I want to do in fitness, feeling that I look the part, feeling that people can trust me based on how I look and my past experience. But a lot of that truly is in my head, because I've had people bigger than me ask me fitness advice, gain from it, and they're like, dude, you helped me out so much. Thank you so much. And in my head, I'm like, they're just being nice. Why? That kind of ties into my next point is like positive thinking. People do like their affirmations. I'm not one to stand in the mirror and be like, you're worth it, you're strong, you're whatever. But like when you get a little win, fucking own it. Look at yourself and be like, dude, I fucking crushed that squat today. Whatever the fuck happens in your fitness life, whether it's a new PR, whether it's you just lifted, you got all those endorphins going through you and you're just excited to be in the gym. Notice those moments. Notice the times where you're not feeling that. Think about both of them, bring them together and just say, I know what I can be, and just do it. But just know that whatever you're going through in the gym or in life, you're not alone. Other people are going through the same thing or something similar, sometimes worse, and it really puts it in perspective of the things that we're looking at. If you do find this video, email the email that I put in the description, and I have to create that email, so I don't really know what it is yet, but it'll be in the description, or write in the comments if you are okay with being more open, which I'm hoping you are, because I want to go through this together with you and with everybody. And let me know what you're struggling with, any advice you need, whether it's something in life, whether it's fitness. Even if I don't have the answer, I'll be here to listen and I'll be here to talk about it, and maybe we figure it out together. I know that for me, mental health has been a very big battle my entire life, with fitness, without fitness, whatever. Obviously, there is a stigma around mental health, and now it's to the point where people are so open about it that people make that their identity. They're like, I have ADHD, I am ADHD, I am OCD, and it's like, no, like you work with these things, but it's not who you are. You know, it's just something you work with. Mental health is the same thing. Like, I have depression, I have anxiety. I'm open about it. All my friends know, my family knows, you know now. It's just one of those things that we got to work through. Just like pain in your shoulder during a bench press. If you ignore it, it gets worse. If you do enjoy this video, or it's been helpful, or you just want to feel like you're not so alone, drop a like, subscribe, share it with a friend who you might also think is struggling in fitness or in mental health. Let them know they're not alone. Let them know you love them. And yeah, catch you guys in the next video. Peace.